That's hill assist. I'm not touching anything. Welcome back, I'm Tedward. Welcome to beautiful sunny Southern California, and welcome to the all-new 2026 Honda CR-V TrailSport. All of the CR-Vs are getting a refresh, a little facelift for 2026, and this TrailSport Hybrid is a new trim level with this brand new color, ash green metallic. Now, in Pilot and Passport, TrailSport has meant you get skid plates and some more off-road capability. In the CR-V, you get these 18-inch wheels, you get all-terrain tires, and you get some appearance changes that make it look a little more rugged, both inside and outside. But I will say this seems to be more of a personality package than a serious off-road package. But it does add some more capability to an already pretty capable package. The CR-V we know and love. This is a hybrid. They still do make front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive versions of the 1.5-liter turbo, but this trim level will only come in hybrid, meaning you get the two-motor drivetrain with 204 horsepower, 247 pound-feet of torque, and we've seen this in CR-V, Accord, Civic. We know and love this because it's a pretty refined and lovely style to get around in. But what you still get is a 2-liter 4-cylinder Atkinson cycle engine that essentially most of the time is driving the generator motor, which charges a small battery. It's not like a plug-in hybrid thing, but that keeps the weight down. And then that battery transfers power into the motor, which drives all 4 wheels. In certain scenarios on the highway, under certain loads and speeds, this can direct drive the wheels from this Atkinson cycle engine, but there is no transmission to speak of. It is all-wheel drive, and for 2026, this is now a 50-50 split real-time all-wheel drive. So it's not the 60-40 that it has been in the past. So the real capability change for the TrailSport lies right here on these 18-inch wheels. There's a 235 section tire that is an all-terrain Continental cross contact that is going to give you more capability off-road, light off-road, and in the snow. So while this is not going to be some like rugged thing that you're going to go beat up on a trail, these tires are going to allow you to go a little further, get a little deeper without getting stuck. And that's really the thing about a CR-V. It's an on-road type of vehicle, but if you want to do some stuff, maybe you get out to a mountain bike trail or hike somewhere that's a little further off course, but you feel like, I just don't know if that's the smartest idea on the street tires. Well, now you can just buy that straight from the factory. This key fob even looks a little different. Now we've got a start and a hatch. This is a power hatch, which is nice to see. This is not a 3-row SUV, and with the hybrid, you do lose a little bit of space back here because of the battery, but otherwise, there's a ton of space back here. I really don't think that's space you're going to miss, and if you were to push down these rear seats, there's room for literally anything and everything. You definitely don't need to take wheels off of bicycles if you're transporting some mountain bikes. The best thing I think really about a CR-V is just how vast the rear cabin space is. This is so good for a family if you've got rear facing child seats, or if you're just looking to transport a bunch of people comfortably in the rear. This door is a 90-degree door, so if you are doing a lot of unloading and loading in here, it's going to be very easy. Unlike Civic, you get nice HVAC controls back here, so you're going to get ventilation. You've got USB-C chargers for both of the outboard passengers, and this reclines pretty darn nicely. But otherwise, it's simple functionality. You've got an armrest with cup holders, and that's the deal. There's no real frills back here, but you do get the orange deviated stitching to signify that you're in the TrailSport trim level. Up front on the interior, you get TrailSport on the headrest and fairly comfortable seats and the same sort of ergonomic, comfy interior that we've been growing to love in these Hondas. The other thing that I really love about this is that you still get controls where you want them. Like buttons, not just touchscreens. So yes, there are touchscreens in this vehicle, but not uncomfortably so, and not in a cumbersome way that you're hunting for things. You want your heated seat? There's a button for it. I don't have to go through the infotainment screen. And we have a normal gear selector here, which I love because it's just ergonomic and easy, and I don't have to fiddle with things, especially for someone like me. I get in and out of lots of different cars all the time. I don't always like to learn new systems, and I think it's just nice to have that. In addition to your heated seats, you also, ooh, I should turn that off. It's actually kind of warm. You also get a heated steering wheel, which is something that you don't get in my Civic Type R, which I wish I did. You get the 8-speaker system. You don't get the 12 like you would get in the top trim level. But other than the tires, really, this is a CR-V hybrid with some new colors and some different kind of interior accents and exterior accents to signify that it is a trail sport. But what I'm curious about is, are these tires loud? Are they going to be annoying? Are you even going to notice them? So let's go take it out and see how the trail sport behaves on road. So next to me is Logan Carter of Jalopnik.
Hi.
You're the perfect test bed for this because the rear seats are really big and you're 6'8". Mm-hmm. Not joking, that's real. At the end of this video, maybe we'll include me sitting behind you in the driver's seat just to prove that this is still a roomy vehicle, because if you can sit behind Logan on a road trip, then I think you've pretty much nailed it. But let's get out onto some like normal roads, see what this is like, because I think that's how most people are going to behave with it. We'll do a tiny bit of soft off-roading with it, and then we'll get out to some twisty stuff near the end of our drive. But so far, so good. I love how ergonomic these Hondas are, and I know I'm a little biased because I own a Civic with a similar layout with my 11th gen Civic Type R, but that also translates to the CR-V and pretty much all of their vehicles. They're really easy to jump in. I think as a rental car, for example, like if you were just jumping in at night at an airport in an unfamiliar vehicle, this would be the easiest thing to get in and use. But the best thing about this is how refined this powertrain is. It is certainly not fast, as evidenced by our 0 to 60, which comes in at just a hair under 8 seconds. Still apparently faster than its segment average, but very cool Corvair powered air-cooled truck. That was really neat. We love that. Let's see. We're getting 38 mile per gallon city, 33 mile per gallon highway, and 35 mile per gallon combined. Now that is a little lower than the sport touring trim level above it, just because of these tires, I would imagine, just kind of wick away a little bit of efficiency. But otherwise, that's pretty good. It's nothing like super impressive, and they've always kind of lagged behind Honda just a tiny, by Toyota, just a tiny bit in terms of that. That's never like the star of the show, but Honda almost never has a big number to throw down on the table, whether it's fuel economy or power. They make good all-rounders. They make packages that fit into your life, that are kind of the peak of a segment, but they don't have superlatives. And I don't know that people always understand that. And I hope through these types of driving videos, people do figure out that something might fit their style a little more than another, even if it's slightly more fuel consuming or slightly less powerful. We've got our paddle shifters, which are not shifters, they're regen paddles. So like we've seen on Accord, the previous non-facelift CR-V, and the Civic, it's just kind of a one-pedal driving deal, and it doesn't take much to regen and recharge this battery just because it's so small, and it's doing all the heavy lifting. It's doing the work for us. I wish that they would bring a plug-in hybrid version of this to the United States, but it's all right. Handling wise, CR-Vs are damped so well. They are comfortable, they are poised, they have a little bit of body roll, but not too much. They feel balanced front and rear, and these tires aren't removing much from that dynamic driving experience that we've kind of come to understand and enjoy from CR-V. The TrailSport comes in just a hair under $39,000. It's kind of in the middle of the range when it comes to the hybrids, but you can go above this to the Sport Touring, which is going to give you more insulation, better speakers, more luxury. But unless you're really gaming for these tires, this appearance, let's do a little bit of a brake check. So balanced, but even though these are, we left a nice big patch, so these are definitely gonna like just unload rubber on braking with these things, but that still didn't feel sketchy despite being an all-terrain tire. So I'm sure the stopping distances will improve with other trim levels on a more traditional all-season tire, but this is not gonna be frightening, I don't think. But what's nice is it just still handles like a CR-V, handles like a Honda. That's one of the big joys of Honda chassis, is that they kind of put chassis first, and it makes smooth, engaging driving exciting and accessible. A little bit of noise from the tires, but not bad. I mean, this is, and still doesn't exactly push. Like, this is what I love about these chassis, is that even up to Pilot, they behave so well. Like, anybody could get in this and enjoy it if you're a car enthusiast, and that's something that I feel like is really special about Honda. Our little display here tells us where the power is going on all four corners. The steering is weighted so well. You don't get a lot of granularity and texture through your fingertips, so I'm not going to necessarily know what the road surface is through my fingertips, but I definitely don't feel vague or concerned about what's going on with the front axle of this car when I turn it in. I know how it's weighted up, and I can feel it through the chassis. So the steering in this honestly becomes like a luxury item because it doesn't feel tinny or cheap. It's weighted really well. We've got a quick little off-road course just to see how the hill descent control works in this, and also kind of showcase how the new software tuning on these gives not only a 50-50 split, but allows for some more traction. We saw in the 2025 versions that they were unable to do some of the roller tests that we put these up against, and in the 2026 models, they have more of a chance of freeing themselves. So let's take this off-road a little bit, show what it can do. Obviously, this is not designed to be like a proper off-roader, but the goal is to be able to get yourself unstuck if maybe you bit off a little more than you thought your CR-V could handle. So here we're kind of seeing what we can do with our approach angle and departure angle. And nice and slow so we don't rip this front fascia off. Here we're going to get a taste of the hill descent control, and we're also going to lift a rear wheel. And this looks pretty cool, honestly. Ooh, went a little fast. That's hill assist. I'm not touching anything. And we're back, baby. All right, that's pretty legit. That did a good job. Something about lifting a rear wheel that just does it for me. Especially in like a family car. We've got it all dusty, which actually goes to highlight one of my favorite things about newer Hondas if we don't collide with this old school True Blood style Ram. Okay, we're good. These wipers, I love the way they work because they have the sprayers in the wipers, which means you don't like coat the whole car. They don't have to be re-aimed. You use definitely less of the washer fluid when you do it. It's a clever little thing. Other cars have this, but I think Honda's execution is probably the most effective. Traction control, managing that pretty darn well, but these tires also hanging on tight to some loose terrain. And yeah, there we go. if you're an Uber driver, this is the ideal car to drive smoothly in. You have to be such a clown to upset it on the throttle.
And it's surprisingly quiet and refined even at full throttle like that.
For real.
Definitely feels nicer than its price tag.
We're going to find out if my iced latte hangs on for the ride because there's some nice roads ahead. So I'm keeping it out of sport mode for a couple of reasons, but mainly because I do not like the fake synthetic sounds that Hondas make when they're in sport mode. And when you're in normal mode, they don't do it. Still hanging on okay. And again, this is where you kind of get a taste of the well-roundedness of these Hondas because the chassis are rigid and communicative, and you're never wondering if the front is doing something different than the back, and your pedals matter, you know, if you really needed to duck that nose in to get it to turn in and point into a corner and then jump off of it to make sure that you're gonna have traction. Like, it'll do all those things. You can just use all of your driving training and skills to get this around a corner properly and just dive in, off, in, on throttle, through the camber and around the corner. I love these roads so much. They are beautiful. And the beauty is too, like every time I get on the brakes or I use these paddles, I'm regenning. So I'm actually being efficient. These tires really don't make much noise. I was expecting them to be barking and like howling at me, but
all terrains.
It's kind of incredible. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I thought that the tires, I mean, obviously they're the star of the show in terms of what differentiates the car, but they really don't differentiate the driving experience on road in a way that's detrimental to its dynamic capabilities. It's pretty rad. So when you're climbing up a hill, that's pretty rad. When you're climbing up a hill in this CR-V, it will keep the power on pretty high. Like you'll be at like 50 to 75%. And this engine, while smooth, can get a little bit loud. And that, you know, isn't like the most refined thing, but the way it drives is refined. And we are also testing out its highway capabilities on one of the loudest sections of highway in the country. They're like cement freeways in Southern California. These are not as insulated as the Sport Touring. If you're looking for that, see, we're climbing the hill, got a lot of power going right now, just doing its thing, but these are not as insulated as the Sport Touring models. And if you're looking for a Sport Touring to be quieter, that's what it'll do. It costs a few extra grand. So it really just matters to you about luxury. And if that's something you need, great, get it. If not, these are fine. But yeah, look at this. It's just screaming, keeping that engine going. But otherwise, CR-V, wonderful highway manners. And we're just gonna go sit in traffic. But there's two of us. Oh my God, how long? Oh, we're only on this for 3 miles. I was gonna say.
Carpool.
Usually I'm alone on these trips, and that is not an option.
Yeah.
So that's going to round out the whole California driving experience, because now we're in bumper-to-bumper traffic on the freeway. So that's the all-new 2026 facelifted CR-V TrailSport. Hybrid is the way, I think, on these cars. It makes the most sense in terms of their power delivery, their refinement, and their fuel economy. In addition to that, I just think that going with kind of an insular package like this, if you're going to buy something that's not a plug-in, this is the solution I like the most, because it's still a robust, trusty 2-liter engine, but it's running almost entirely off of that electric energy all of the time. I feel like these make the most sense for normal people in normal driving. And now it's got a little bit of extra capability with these tires. No lift, unfortunately. I think it would have been kind of cool if this got like a 1-inch or maybe 2-inch lift on the suspension just to give it more ground clearance, or some skid plates like its Passport and Pilot brothers. but I understand that that's not really what the CR-V is about. So the way I've envisioned this is that if you were to go off-road and dig yourself in just a little deeper than you should have, you're not going to have to call for help. And that's what I think this thing does. It gives you just a little bit extra capability, so you're going to be in a position where you can always get home, but you're not taking this out to the off-road park necessarily, unless you're really trying to show off to some people. So that's going to do it for the new facelifted CR-V. Thank you guys so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. Don't forget to respect the drive, and I'll see you in the next one.